We finally had a stinker of a game, but the atmosphere looked absolutely amazing. Aaman, we're going to talk about that with you in a minute because you were there. But first, I want to introduce our friend Joe Hickey, straight from his ground announcing gig at the stadium in Long Island for the World Cup. Joe, thank you for joining us again. You were a guest of ours last season in the post-game Major League Cricket shows, and now you're a guest post-game World Cup.
Yeah, moving on up every time.
Thank you for joining us. It's a little earlier for you because you're all the way on the West Coast. Amin and I are in the Eastern Zone. I think you're in the
It,
Eastern Zone. Yeah.
yeah, still flies in the Eastern Zone, thank God.
And that looked like an incredible atmosphere. Honestly, during the anthems, I was like, "Oh boy, we're really in for it here. We're really in for it." It looked like West Indies was ready to play. The crowd was ready to support them. USA had some support in the crowd as well, but I'll tell you what, it felt like a home game for West Indies.
Oh, it was one of the best venues I think I've ever been at. That atmosphere was just unbelievable. I've been in the Kensington Oval now for about 2 weeks, and that was the loudest, the most jam-packed I've heard it. But there was a good amount of USA fans there. I think it was the spillover from the Indian fans that were over. You saw a lot of them in the Indian t-shirts with the USA flags, which was pretty cool to just see that because that's what USA cricket is. It's that immigration, people coming in and then spreading cricket through that way, which was awesome. But man, I sent out a tweet after the game because I couldn't get any service during. But at the anthem ceremony, I was standing there, hand on the heart for the national anthem, and I was soaking it all in. And our technical director next to me was just filming me standing there. And I remember that moment. I'm like, I had tears in my eyes. It was just a really surreal kind of feeling. And then when Andres Kels was hitting sixes, and Nitish Kumar was hitting sixes, to hear the USAs in the crowd were awesome. But then when the West Indies got to batting, that was when the real noise came in. When Shea Hope was hitting one of his eight sixes for the night, that's when you really heard the whole vibe of that crowd just go crazy. But they call the Kensington Oval the Mecca of cricket in the West Indies, and I understood why tonight.
Oh, no doubt. It was absolutely incredible looking on the television. I was listening for your voice in the background too. Last week we were both in Florida and the game between USA and Ireland got washed out, unfortunately. But man, I kept thinking about how much you must be enjoying that moment because we almost had that moment last week and we didn't get to have it. But you did get to have it down there. I know that had to be extra special. But moving on just for a minute, we'll come right back to the game. Let's talk about a couple of pieces of news here that are exciting. Obviously, we just had the MLC, Major League Cricket Supplemental Draft, where teams that had funds left from the regular draft and had player positions left could pick supplemental picks. And last season, we saw all six teams with a pick. Obviously, it was the very first season. We didn't have retained players at that point. But now we had only three teams making picks, and it was LA, Seattle, and MI New York. And with the first pick, LA Knight Riders took Chaitanya Bishnoi, who played with San Francisco Unicorns last season. Didn't really do a whole lot. Didn't really have a whole lot of success, but he gets another chance here with LAKR. Aaron Jones, who I expected to go first, went second to Seattle, so he's back where he was last season. Looking at that team, I wonder if he can even crack that roster. Once again, he's in a similar spot where the team has a lot of overseas batting depth. And then last of all, we had Sonny Patel, the leg spinner from New Jersey Somerset Cavaliers, going to MI New York. He's a bit older. He's in his late 30s. That was a surprise pick to me, considering all the players left on the board that could have been picked. Now, once again, we didn't have minor league in front of major league, and I think that really harms the quality of the supplemental draft.
Certainly the plan had always been to have a first half of a minor league season, get a little momentum rolling. We certainly saw, obviously with a long delay, the effect that some minor league performances had on our domestic draft this year. The likes of Aditya Ganesh, an unknown to American audiences until he burst onto the scene with East Bay Blazers. You'd love to see a few more of those sorts of stories coming about out of a supplemental draft like this, and especially after some of the stories we had last season with the likes of Mohamed Mohsin becoming such a star out of that. It really would be ideal to eventually get it running on that preferred schedule. Obviously, this year with the World Cup, you were always going to be a little bit behind the eight ball.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have that minor league season intact. The Sonny Patel pick I thought was really interesting just because we saw MI New York last year take Sarojit Ledda. Just for that period of time, they knew they were going to be without Rashid Khan. And maybe it's just a thought of if we're without him again, here's another leg spinner. Not a lot of leg spinners out there, so it's cool to see Sonny Patel get a crack. Didn't have the greatest time at the playoff weekend that we had down in Texas versus what he did in the East Coast, where the wickets were a little bit more conducive to bowling and they were just a little bit tougher to bat on. So interested to see how he fares, but I think it's gonna be a good experience for Sonny. Aaron, going back to Seattle, I was almost hoping that he would be elsewhere. Just I thought he might have a better shot at cracking that 11, as you mentioned, Nate. Not only is the overseas depth so good, but Seattle might have had the best domestics from last year, especially with the bat. The top three are going to include Nomanon Marshall and Jai. And then from there, Shubham Ranjane is not going anywhere. Harmeet Singh is going to have to play because of just how good he was. Cameron Gannon won the Bart King Award. So there's not a lot of spots to go in and crack. And you never wish an injury on anybody, but it seems like that might be the only way he gets in. And for Chaitanya Bishnoi, I think he's an interesting option. Gives you the left arm spin. We saw him bowl a couple of overs with San Francisco. That felt to be where he was able to find the most success. I think what could be interesting for him is he might have a chance batting up top the order a little bit more, just because we saw the struggles from LAKR in the power play. And so maybe they're thinking, okay, let's get another guy that can come in up top the order if what we have so far doesn't really crack. So maybe that's where he goes. But we saw him in the field. I think the biggest highlight he had from 2023 was that run out he had on Matthew Short against Washington Freedom in Church Street Park. I'm intrigued to see who these players do. I don't think many of them crack a roster just because everywhere they've gone is so deep, but I'm curious to see how they are able to make that big impact.
Yeah, I'm a little bit shocked, honestly, that New York went with a leg spinner, considering we don't know if Manan Patel's going to be available for that
Sure.
for the season. We've heard that he's gotten injured. There's question whether or not he's got a full diagnosis yet. Peter's been tweeting about that. Obviously, there's a lot left to be learned, but if you listen to what some people are saying, there's a chance he might not even be fit by Major League Cricket season. In which case, I would have thought that MI New York would take another batter. Just they might want to have those options. Obviously, we've seen Steven get close to having a really good innings in the World Cup, so maybe he's earned a spot back in the team where he got pushed out a little bit last season. But yeah, who knows what'll happen there. I was a little bit shocked to see them not take a batter. And Bishnoi, I was a little bit surprised to see him right back into it again when we really do have a ton of other great options out there. But yeah, let's not spend too much time on that. We can come back to that on another special episode in the future. The GT20 draft also happened, and I'm not sure if they were drafted or if they were free agents or not, but Andres House and Harmeet Singh from Team USA are on teams in the GT20 this coming season. One of the great things about GT20, and now it kicks off on July 25th, so there's a little bit of overlap with Major League Cricket. I imagine those players I mentioned will just join right afterwards, which happens all too often in T20 cricket. But one of the great things about the GT20 is it tends to be a great showcase league for associates. And in the past showcase league, there wasn't much to showcase people for because we didn't have all of these ILT20, SAT20. Those things didn't exist in 2018 and 2019, but now they do. So now it seems like these guys are actually able to use the GT20 as a springboard into other leagues. We got Dipendra Singh Ari, we got Andres House, Harmeet Singh, Michael Rippon, Harsh Thakur, obviously all of the Canadians, obviously, I don't even have to mention them, Ruben Truppelman, Paul Van Meekeren. We got a lot of associate players in this league. I always liked that. I always thought it was a great league for that reason, so I'm excited to follow it. Hopefully the boundaries are a little bit deeper this season, but it's going to be in Brampton again.
I'm particularly interested to see what it's going to do to the balance of power in minor leagues, since it is going to overlap it this season. I remember last year doing my research, getting ready for that season. Seattle imported a whole bunch of players that had GT20 experience, and of course, the likes of Harmeet and Andres House were busy plying their trade in the Central Division. House leading off the batting for the team that eventually won the title. It will be interesting to see how those teams adapt. Obviously, it's a lower level league, and so you've got to go where the money is. You've got to go where the opportunities to showcase your talents are, but it's certainly going to shift a few things there when that gets started come August. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's exciting to see the associate members really get full cracks in these franchise leagues. I think that's the really great thing about the GT20. But I never thought about the way you did, Joe, that the fact that if minor league is to kick off the way it did last year, right after Major League, what does that mean for a lot of these guys, right? Does that mean that you're going to see Andres House not play in minor league cricket after being the MVP of minor league cricket? What does that leave? So that's always a curious question. But as you mentioned, you got to go where the money is. There's not a lot of opportunities for a lot of these guys. So wherever you can get it, you have to go and get it. But I'm excited that GT20 is back. We've had a little bit of a stint away from it, and it's always pretty good cricket up there. And again, to see the associate members get a real opportunity to show what they can do against the likes of Shaheen Shafridi or Babar Azam, that's pretty darn cool.
And it wraps up on the 11th of August. So if we do have a minor league, now we're taking it for granted that we will, but there are rumors that USA's withheld the approval of minor league this season. I don't know how true that is. Hopefully that's not true. We really want to see minor league. We know that the draft was suspended, which is a big bummer because we love the minor league draft. Hopefully minor league goes on a lot longer than August 11th. It will, based on the way that the league is a weekend only league, so it tends to stretch out even longer. I can't wait. I hope one day we have a minor league that runs from May through September and just runs every weekend. And whatever happens in the meantime, USA games or whatever, maybe make a couple windows or make a window for Major League. But I'd love to see a full summer of cricket in some way or another. Let's move into talking about the game, which is what everybody probably wants to hear. Aaman, you said you were there. First of all, before we go anywhere, you made two predictions about the team, about the playing 11, and you were right on both of them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pat myself on the back or anything, but it just felt like that might have been what the wicket called for. There was going to be a little bit more turn and a little more grip in the surface, and we had a little bit of drizzle before the game started as well, so that didn't help the cause either. And so that's why I think we saw Akil Hussain open the bowling straight away, right, for the West Indies because they're expecting that grip and turn, even with the left-handed Steven Taylor on strike. They were fine letting him try to hit with the spin. And to be fair, I thought the USA played out Akil. It's just that the other spinners were getting involved. I really thought when Andres Carlos and Nitish Kumar, when they were batting together, that's when we had the best part of our innings. And
Yeah,
I was really disappointed with the way Nitish Kumar got out. It was
yeah.
just an unneeded shot, an unnecessary moment in that game. I thought if it was the seventh over, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there. And I think that if Nitish and Andres could have batted to the 10th over. We have a chance at 150 to 180. And I know it's a big range, but we have a chance to really push that scoreboard. And because Nitish was seeing the ball really well, he was batting with the pace. He had a brilliant shot over extra cover for six, and Andres was seeing it well as well, right? So there wasn't a lot of pressure. I just thought that there was no need to play that switch hit reverse. And as soon as I saw it, I knew it was out. And that to me was the story of the South Africa innings as well as this one. We'd have those moments, right? Shadley, Van Skalkvik, and Milan Kumar were batting well together, and then Milan goes and gets himself run out. There were just moments throughout the innings where it just felt we had an opportunity to really accelerate, really take the game, and we just didn't. We just threw it away pretty consistently.
Yeah, Aaron
Yep.
Jones was saying it after the game. The issue was just the loss of wickets in clusters in particular, which we hadn't really seen much of at all from the U.S. In fact, if anything, it's what they've been doing to other teams throughout the tournament
Yeah.
in order to keep themselves in games or turn the tide in games. Yeah, on top of it, insult to injury, Nitish goes and reviews that after feeling the hit of the ball on his glove on the recoil. And now not only are you down that wicket and having to get a new batter in, but you're also now down a review and having to question on any subsequent one. Oh, what am I going to do here? Is it worth a punt at this point to then have no chances from here on out?
Yeah, and USA, I think they were 48 for the loss of one at the end of the power play, having played out 3 overs of Akil Hussain. This is a great spot to be in, honestly. I'm thinking, wow, we're in a great position. And then immediately afterwards, not long afterwards, Nitish gets out with the LBW trying to reverse sweep. And Housey was dropped on a difficult chance behind point. It would have been a really tough grab, but I thought, okay, great, that's excellent. We can build. It's good that he's still here. Obviously, he was going at about 200, and then obviously earlier on the catch by Roston Chase on Steven Taylor. Steven was just being aggressive there. I didn't have too much of a problem with that. I thought it was a good catch, and Steven was just he needed to get in the game a little bit. But moving on after the power play and after Nitish got out LBW, man, that ball that Aaron Jones smashed after seeing a few dot balls. Good Lord. Off of Alzari Joseph. First of all, Alzari Joseph was pumping it in pretty good and getting good bounce too. And he just absolutely demolished that ball at 101 meters. I think it's his second, at least his second 100-meter smash so far. And with that six, it tied him for first in the competition with 14 World Cup sixes.
Man, I'll tell you what, Alzari Joseph was ripping it in there. Holy smokes. I never saw him live before. Oh my God, was it? And I was amazed when Aaron hit that six. I saw it. I was like, there's no way he got down on the knee in position to play that slog sweep and took him over cow corner. It was just flat out ridiculous what he did there. And again, it was just moments like that. You had the six, we were moving on, we were going well, and then there's a single the next ball, and then Andres gets out. And as you mentioned, Joe, it's just those wickets and clusters. It's that not building that partnership that we just needed one, and it just felt we didn't get enough of one today. We got a mini one with Andres and Nitish. We were starting to see one form with Aaron, and we just didn't do it the rest of the innings as well. And again, those clusters of wickets just really hurt us.
And Aaron talked in the beginning at the coin toss about the idea they were going to play fearless cricket, and that's been the brand at this point. And there is a point where you tip over from fearless to reckless. And particularly, I had down on my notes the Nitish sweep and the Andres hit on that right after Aaron's six. You've got your boundary for the over. Just chill out for a second, rotate the strike, get everybody feeling good. Let's have a replay of what we saw against Canada. And instead, yeah, trying to back right up on it and ends up out.
Yeah, and just before that, right after Aaron Jones smashed the six on a ball that was a little bit more, not really full, but it wasn't short, that's for sure. Then Joseph bounced one at him and he ducked under it. And I remember, oh yeah, he's pissed off. I remember thinking that. And then Housey, and then Housey got one that was just back a length and it just climbed up. It just climbed up too much for him, I think. And he just skied that one. And I just remember thinking, man, you're really taking a chance with this guy if you're going after him like that twice in and over. The first time was just the right ball to do it. And then, but that ball that House went after, man, it was just a great ball. And like you said before, Joseph is a scary bowler. He comes in, he's so smooth. He's got such a smooth action. Man, he just has so much in the tank, it looks like.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. Again, you talk about the smooth action. It doesn't feel like he's running up to come in and bowl the way he does. It's just a slow jog up there, and then bang, he just rips it in there. But you mentioned that ball, it just comes up off the length, and that's his specialty as well, right? You got to expect the surface to grip, and then when you have someone bowling as quick as he does, there's gonna be a little bit of extra bounce in that wicket. And I'm just again just trying to be aggressive. I don't mind the idea of that shot. Just the timing wasn't right. There was no need to play this, as you mentioned, Joe. You have your boundary for the over. Just knock it around. You get four more singles. You got 10 runs in the over, and you've had a successful over. Things are good. You keep wickets in hand, especially after Nitish goes and Corey's not batting at his best right now. We haven't seen the best of Corey Anderson. Milind Kumar hasn't played yet in this tournament. You want to get him in where he doesn't have to either hit right away or try to save the day, just where he can feel himself in. You want to save Harmeet for later in the game. So there's just that point of understanding, hey, we've got our boundary. We're batting first, so you can still play with that calculated mindset of, all right, we've got one. Let's go again. Let's get 8. Let's get 10 and over, and just keep it moving from there.
But after House got out, Corey Anderson came in at 60 for 3 with 1 ball left in the 8th, saw a dot ball. And I remember thinking at this point, I'm like, yeah, this partnership here has to be here for a while. This one definitely has to last. And then Roston Chase came in, and I thought I was feeling really good about Roston Chase against Aaron Jones. I felt, okay, this is good. Aaron Jones, he's been on the broadcast, they said his strike rate against spin this tournament has been 250. which is just absolutely fantastic. But we know that Aaron Jones is good against spin. So I thought the Jones Chase matchup would be one that would lean in our favor because obviously with Chase in there, if you're West Indies, you want him bowling to Corey Anderson. So I thought Aaron would give us an answer. And then he just was well ahead of that ball. He just got fooled by the flight of the ball, I think, and maybe the height of Chase and totally mistimed it. Tried to lengthen his swing, I think it looked like, to get a hold of it, and that pulled his head out, and obviously he got bowled. That was a tough one right there.
And it was the start of the spinners just giving us headaches. Obviously, we'd seen out Akil Hossain. It had been an economical spell, but not a destructive one. And USA have hung their hat on what they've done against spin so far in the tournament. You mentioned Jones' strike rate, but the team as a whole, 10.4 runs per over against spin coming into tonight. In their prior matches for an average of about 62 runs per wicket. And tonight they went 46 for 4. and that was over 10 overs worth of spinners. And Barbados, that so far the Kensington Oval has been pretty kind to a number of spinners. We saw it with Schultz, and I'm forgetting the name right now, another one from Namibia who had a pretty decent go of it. India against Afghanistan bowled as much spin as they have in any of their matches so far. And so with the last match of the group stage against England coming up, also being at Kensington, it's going to be something to consider in terms of how you deploy your bowlers and what the mindset needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, we knew this wicket coming in was going to be something where the spinners were going to have a say. So you had to see them out a little bit. But to your point, Nate, we've been batting so well against spin, and we didn't need a lot, right? Because of the foundation we had. It just felt if we could just keep chipping away, find that one boundary, and Aaron feeling like the perfect guy in the middle to get it done. But again, he just was well ahead of it, and then said, "Okay, Millen's going to come in, steady the ship," and which I thought Millen played really well today. To his credit, it's not easy to go out there in a new environment and try to score runs quickly. And he didn't look to score runs quickly. He just looked to tick it around and try to build something, in which he was doing. So I was very happy with the role Milind Kumar played. We knew he was going to be in because of what he could do against the spin. Again, Corey Anderson was struggling. He walked off straight away as soon as it was given. And then the real killer was Harmeet Singh going the very next delivery. Was just again way out in front of that delivery. It was a flight on that ball. You could see Harmeet was just poking at it, and it just skied to point. And once that hit, then you said that's a killer. Shadley's in the team for a good reason, but you needed Harmeet's ability to score and score quickly and score ferociously. And him getting out first ball, I thought was really that nail in the coffin.
And that came off of the back of the Corey Anderson LBW, which Rustin Chase used his arm ball for. So we're seeing basically like a right arm version of Akil Hussain here for this spell. Just an absolute nightmare to the lefties. And then Harmeet, as you mentioned, came in immediately following the arm ball, which caught the back pad of Corey Anderson, which was basically plumb middle and leg stump. Immediately after that, he pulls his length back a little bit. I think he took a little bit of pace off of the one he gave to Harmeet, and Harmeet charged down and edged it right to the point fielder. It was an easy catch, but didn't really have a lot of patience there from Harmeet to dance down the wicket after a guy who was just a couple of wickets in his prior couple overs. Yeah, that was a really bad timing, I felt like. And then obviously Shadley came in and steadied the ship with Millen, and you mentioned Millen batted really well. I thought Millen played really well. And in fact, I didn't even have that big of a problem with the way he got run out. That was just one of those situations that's going to happen. I don't have a problem with it if we hadn't made all the other mistakes we had made in the innings. I think in a normal game, the two of them wouldn't have been batting that situation in a normal game. But I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, just the continued bit of the over exuberance that led to Nitish or to Andres or even to Harmeet. Harmeet Singh, somebody who's used to going at a million miles an hour when he gets in there, whether it's to save a season in 2022 or to close out an innings. He's expecting that right from the get-go. And certainly with USA having had, I think at that point, one boundary in the last 6 overs, probably really feeling the pressure to accelerate as quickly as he could and just not making good contact on that first one.
Yeah, and with that Millen run out, I think you're right in the sense of on a normal situation, it's not bad, but you have to read that situation. Just like when you're Harmeet, you have to again, unfortunate with that wicket, but at that point now it's okay. After if you get out, you're sending in Nash Jagay, Ali Khan, and Sarabjit Thakurkar. Nash can maneuver some runs. Ali hit some big sixes today, but the runs from them are a bonus, right? You're not expecting them to come in and keep runs flowing. And this is the 18th over, right? You still got a lot of cricket to play. You still got a lot of balls to face. And that ball wasn't hit to the right of any fielder, to the left of any fielder. It was hit straight to that man stationed at fine leg. Again, it was that over anxiousness, but it's game situation. T20 cricket's all about situation and understanding what you need to do in a certain situation. And I think if Milind Kumar is able to hold himself back from getting run out there, I don't think Shadley gets caught 2 balls later because I think there's a little less pressure. I don't think you succumb to that. You just take the single. You're not saying, oh, I have to score a boundary because I don't want to get Nosh on strike. Again, 6 and 4 to come from the next couple deliveries. You end the over with 11 runs because there was a wide as well. But I thought, again, those little moments where if those two are in the game, I think you claw your way up to a 135, up to a 140, right? At least you give yourself that opportunity to do, and
Yeah.
you get to finish out 20 overs as well, right? Ali can come in and over later and do what he did. So there's just those little things that, like you mentioned, Nate, on its own, it's fine. But with everything that's happening, those little things just continue to add up.
Yeah, and I had a little note here right before that happened that where I said USA might be able to get to 140. They might have a chance to get to 140, which is basically what you just said there. I think also earlier than that, when Corey was still in, USA was bailed out. Their run rate was dipping quite a bit. They were getting about 3 runs and over off the bat, but they had been gifted a few wides in that span too. It seemed like they were getting almost 2 wides and over there for about 3 overs. And I felt like that should have taken the pressure off of to do anything like trying to squeeze in a run when you don't need to. But yeah, and then Shadley definitely, I want to go back to Shadley just a little bit because he had a few boundaries there that were really excellent that helped add onto the total. And yeah, that run out really did deflate that partnership. It ended the partnership.
Shadley, I felt, was emblematic of the kind of restrained aggression that was necessary in that moment. Because you look at it, he wasn't going crazy with boundaries. He wasn't Shea hoping it or anything like we would see later. But one and over, and then rotate the strike. And Millen doing good work to keep things moving between the wickets as well. And like we said, as soon as Millen's gone, Shadley now feels like he's in a different role and has to change the way he's been playing. And again, just all those things adding up.
Yeah, again, like you mentioned, those things just continue to add up. And Shelley did play quite well. There's a couple boundaries there, and I remember we were walking around the stadium talking to folks, and we'd get a little minute to watch the game. And he hits a boundary, and I said, "That's why you play Shadley Van Skulkman. That's why you get him in the team because he's a genuine bat that can go out there and really score you some runs. But once he gets out, then you're just in no man's land. You have Nosh Kenjige in the middle, and Ali Khan joins him. We got the 6 and the 4. Okay, Ali. All right. I didn't know this was you. I said to my camera guy, his name's Josh. I said, hey Josh, Ali on this ball is swinging for mid wicket. That was right after the YSE, swinging for mid wicket, and he got it straight. So Ali, you were just a couple degrees off for me there. But again, we talk about that pressure. That next over, you get 2 runs. You get the wicket because you just again, you're not expecting Nosh to go out there and try to score, and especially not against Alzari Joseph's pace. How often is he facing someone like that? How often is Ali Khan facing someone like that? And I don't. And when you talk about blaming or having problems with wickets, I don't have a problem with how Nosh got out because at that point it was we need to find runs. I can't do it conventionally. I'm gonna try something that I've been working on. It came high off the bat and skied up to pull run. It happens the way it happens. But again, that same breath, there's moments earlier in that game that could have prevented Nosh from being in the game, from Saurabh facing the last 4 deliveries of the innings. There's those things that just they add up, and again, I think it was just a tale of the little things with the batting innings.
Yeah, and an excellent diving catch there by Powell right at the end on Sorab just underscored the fact that West Indies understood the importance of net run rate in this situation of trying to close the game out, even with just 1 ball to spare. Every little bit counts. But yeah, Ali coming in, hitting a 6 and a 4. That was really impressive.
Yeah, I don't think that a sentence I was expecting to say by the time the 20th over came around was Ali, stay on strike, keep turn down the signal. A guy who'd never had a run in a T20I until that moment. Weird game.
What's funny is he hadn't had a run in a T20I before this, but we've seen him in the middle at the end of some crazy T20 international endings, especially against Canada.
Yeah, especially because he wasn't scoring the runs, right? It was the Stephen Taylor 6 where he watched it sail, and then it was the 3, thanks to Rusty Theran after Ali swung and missed. And then Rusty's keep running. All these he's practicing the shapes. I should have done it this way, and Rusty just keeps telling him to run around. But like you mentioned, it's a weird game, and sometimes it comes off. Yeah, but that's the first innings, right? It's a tale of those little things, and because of Ali's abilities, we were able to get ourselves to 128, which you never felt was defendable, but at least you can make a game out of it, right? The wicket's going to turn a little bit. There's going to be some grip if you can get some early wickets, which Saurabh and the team's been able to do. This game could just be close, and that's all you're looking for at this point, right? We're in the Super 8s as the USA team. We weren't supposed to be here, and it's just about just trying to see what else you can do playing that fearless brand of cricket, as you mentioned, Joe. And you also look at it as Brandon King. He's not available for the West Indies today. All right, they have to go to a new opener. It's Shea Hope, but he hasn't played a single game this tournament. Maybe he's a scalp we can get early. Seemed to be the exact opposite. The guy who hasn't played a single game all tournament long, I think jumps probably in the top 10 of run scorers. I'm sure he's up there. 82 off 39 with 8 6s and 4 4s. Just ridiculous. And sometimes people just have a day. And he had himself a day today.
It seemed every time the U.S. attack managed to get a little bit of pressure going, differently from what we saw in the first innings, where a little pressure would lead to a wicket and then immediately another wicket. In the West Indies innings, a little bit of pressure. Ali Khan, couple of dot balls. Seems like maybe he's going to keep Shea Hope on the crease, lock him up a bit, and then manages to find that shot to release the 4, then the 6, and it just seemed to happen over and over again, and led the U.S. into what seemed, from my position, like some somewhat desperate choices trying to restrain them. There was one particular bowling choice that kind of flummoxed me. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about, but there were some interesting choices made in the face of an onslaught.
No, absolutely. They tried Nosh early. Nate, I'm surprised they didn't. Are you surprised that they didn't go back to Nosh after that first over? I know he went for 11 runs, but he's someone who has that reputation of taking wickets in the power play.
Yeah, I guess I am a little bit, especially as well as spin worked in the first innings. But honestly, it seemed like early on, the confidence of these West Indians batters, so Shea Hope in particular, was just, you just couldn't get him out. I felt like Nosh missed early. He missed short early on in his over, and I feel like that kind of put took him out of the attack.
Yeah, 100%. When I no, I thought Nosh was just a touch short, and I felt it was another situation of where we didn't learn or react to what this pitch was doing. What did Ross and Chase have so much success with in his spell? Giving the ball a little bit of air, flighting it up a little bit, and slowing it down. And I thought we were just too quick. I thought Nosh was too quick through the air. I thought Harmeet was a touch too quick through the air because that's how we tend to bowl, right? That's how the services in the USA, that's what they're better for. I thought we had to slow it down a little bit and try to pitch it up. Again, we were a touch short from Nosh, but again, it's that same principle of, yeah, we bowl this way. That's how we're gonna bowl. And I was talking to one of the curators before the game. He says, I feel like adaptability has gone out the window in T20 cricket, and I'm like, ah, that it's really the name of the game. If you can't adapt, you can't win. And I felt that again, there's an opportunity to have a little more flight, be a little bit slower through the air, and I thought that could have. Not saying it would have changed the way this game would have gone because Shai Hope was just on tear, but I think gave you a better opportunity. You get to use that surface, get to use that wicket, and hopefully it's something you can take into Sunday.
Yeah, I do wonder whether we're going to see a decent bit more in the way of spin overs. Stephen Taylor could give you a little bit of off break, give some of our issues we've had with the third pacer not really providing wickets, or even being particularly economical. That could be an option to try to slow some things down. England themselves have struggled a bit against spin. A lot of folks in the Caribbean have, and maybe a direction to go. I was surprised not to see maybe an over to Corey Anderson. Again, somebody who with his a little bit less pace might find a little more grip in the surface where it wasn't quite doing what we're accustomed to for the likes of Sarab or for Ali.
Yeah, were you guys a little bit surprised that they went with Milland and not Steven? We haven't seen much success at all from Steven with the ball this tournament, which is surprising to me because we know how good he is. But I think maybe with this particular surface, I thought that Steven might be able to get something out of it.
Yeah, 100%. Aaman said adaptability in this case. The American surfaces, by and large, weren't giving you much in terms of spin. Nosh had a decent outing in Dallas, but really challenging to get much from it. And most folks in New York were just abandoning spin altogether and bowling 4 pacers and just stitching together something out of those last 4 overs.
Yeah, we didn't bowl a
Yeah.
single over of spin against India.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we didn't pull that a single overspin, and I thought it cost us then. And I think I don't mind going to Millen, to be honest with you. I think at that point when you brought Millen and the game was over, you're just trying to see, okay, how does Millen react on the surface, right? You're gonna have another game here. It's almost like a bowling session, right? At that point. At that point, that game is cleared. It's not an if, it's a matter of when. So you're getting another guy who hasn't seen it with the bat, hadn't seen it with the ball, and an opportunity to just go out there, gain experience in the middle. I think Steven probably would have had a little bit more success on the surface. He is someone who gives it a little bit more flight than Millen does. Millen is very quick through the air, rips it through. So I hope that we take this game, this loss, we lick our wounds, and again, look at Sunday. What do we have to do? Take our batting with a little bit more grace, right? Let's get our boundary and just keep getting out the open. Let's just keep moving. And then with the ball in hand, I think the spinners in particular have to understand that yes, our legs have to be perfect, but I think the way we go in the air has to be better. All right, I think you can get away missing short if you're slower through the air. I genuinely, because I think there's a little bit more grip and turn to where you can't just rock back and heave it over mid wicket, where you have to adjust for the ball moving 90 degrees in the other direction.
Yeah, good points. I think you're right there. Yeah. Let's see. England, like you said, maybe struggling a little bit against spin. Hopefully we learn our lesson and put a little bit more, obviously you're daring somebody when you flight the ball. You're daring them to go after it. And I think we have the trust. We have to trust the plan. Whatever it is, you got to go in and trust it. You can't, I felt like you said, taking Nosh out of the attack after just one over. Let's give him a little bit of faith here. Because I don't think you were I don't think you were going to take wickets any other way, like you said. I think you had to flight it up there. You had to let them try to hit it.
Yeah, again, this was a game that at the end of the day, I feel we all have those. Yeah, these could have changed, but you knew that once you saw the West Indies start to bat, this game was going to go in one direction and one direction only. I'm interested for you, Joe. Are you looking for any changes for Sunday in terms of playing 11, in terms of the order, in terms of really anything? Are you looking or expecting to see some changes from the USA
I
side?
think more than anything, just the way that the bowlers are deployed. I think given the current form that Cheyenne Jahangir has been in, the maybe shaken confidence to some extent of Jesse Singh, if you're not going to put those two back, and if Manang Patel's injured, there really aren't many other options for mixing up the playing 11 at this point. I think more, as we were saying, spin is obviously going to have to be a big deal here. I'm interested to see, given the success he's had, obviously in the middle overs, I'm curious from your viewpoint whether Harmeet Singh could be an option in the power play. Given he has been pretty economical, he has broken through a few times in other games. I know it's obviously a different animal bowling with that kind of defense behind you, but I am curious your thoughts on how we go about deploying spin early.
I don't mind him bowling in the power play, to be honest. I think the reason he hasn't is he's the more aggressive spinner. Obviously, Nosh, quicker through the air, is the more economical of the two. But I think that in the power play, they're going to be aggressive and you got to take wickets. And I think if you're looking for wickets, he's a really good option, right? And with England, it's going to be about taking wickets in consistent intervals because that team bats basically 1 to 11 now that they've added Sam Curran into it. You're going to need to take a bunch of wickets. And I wouldn't mind to see Harmeet Singh early. I also think that if the toss is really important, especially in this past game, right? If we were to bowl first, I think it could have looked a little different. So if we are on the right side of that toss, I think we can be really aggressive up front. And I think that's more so what I'm looking for is to be very aggressive up front. And I think Harmeet Singh could be a real aggressive option straight off the bat.
And if Manak is out, which obviously he will be, we haven't talked at all about the reserves. I mean, at this point, you don't really have travel when you're a host nation. You're not supposed to have traveling reserves. But now that they're in the West Indies leg, were they able to take a traveling reserve with them? I'm curious about this because you do have Gaj Singh in that traveling reserve or in that reserve group. And yes, he's a lefty, and it seems like the last thing we need right now is another lefty bat in this batting order. And I don't know if I would put him in for Milind Kumar in that case, especially because of Milind's fielding is so extraordinary in comparison. But do you think it makes any difference?
I think that Gajendra Singh's an interesting choice. I'm not sure if he makes the biggest difference for this 11. I think that his impact really is the role of someone who can rebuild. And I think he makes sense only because Corey Anderson's not firing at the moment.
Yeah,
Because you don't have Corey being that real explosive bat, it feels almost like you need another rebuilding bat in there. But I think best case scenario, you wouldn't need a Gajendra Singh because Corey's batting really well.
right.
And Millen can
Yeah.
come in and play the spin, or Cheyenne's batting and can be really attacking, and Harmeet can be attacking. And especially in this kind of a tournament, Gajendra Singh doesn't really fit at the six spot, right? He can't play six down
Right.
because you have to come in and be ultra aggressive, right? I think that's why you see Nitish Kumar go as soon as he could get sent straight up because that's a more natural position for him. we're just jam packed up top of the order. I think, I really think that what could have been real handy is another Shadley Van Skulkvik type of Cornet Dryad, Justin Dill. I think Justin Dill could have been a really interesting option, just another bowling option that could give you some bat, or maybe just another pure bat. Yeah, I don't know who we have that is going to be that kind of come in, hit it straight away.
We could have had Obus in here.
Yeah, I think out of that, I'm looking at like guys like Sanjay Surya who didn't qualify to get to the trials. I'm looking at a guy like Obus Pinar who could have been really helpful and impactful. There's plenty of those names around, but I think at this point
Yeah,
it's not worth looking past
well,
that, right? At this point,
yeah,
you have one game left in your World Cup. Go out
yeah,
there and play with the team you got.
yeah. The only reason I brought up Gadge is because he was listed as a reserve for the team. But
Given the 11 that we've got, even just in my mind, given current states of form, a switch of Shadley and Corey, I think makes a lot of sense to me. Shadley he basically played the role that we would have liked Corey to play when he came in a little bit later down the line, kind of find that boundary with some regularity and stitch it together with Milland. Then maybe you free up Corey's mind a little bit, so he's not the one necessarily on the rebuild, but instead the one to just try to mash towards the end.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I know Corey is a guy who likes to bat at that 4 or 5 spot, and that's his more natural position. But I think the way we've dealt with that 4 or 5 spot is less of a come in and attack. It's been more of a come in, settle things down because we've probably lost 2 wickets in that span. Shadley's a great option for that because even though he's coming into bat at 7 here, this is a guy who comes in and can bat 1 down, 2 down if needed in minor league cricket. So this is a guy that I wouldn't mind seeing at 4 or 5, and maybe it gives Corey some freedom in his batting, some kind of clarity of, all right, come in and we're gonna hit. Or very rarely is he gonna have to come in and steady the ship when then try to think about when does he take it on, when doesn't he can just come in and take it on straight away.
yeah, that's an interesting thought. I think we may as well call it a night. But great chatting with you guys. It's let's see what happens. Hopefully we can bounce back and give England a really good fight. Obviously the group is opened up. We don't know who's going to advance still, and anything can happen, I guess. So let's hope USA really give it to England. I was shocked to see them fall to South Africa. I felt like South Africa left 20 runs on the table when they in the first innings. I felt like they had 20 more runs to squeeze out of the tank that they missed out on. So I was a little bit surprised to see England lose, but man, they do take their chances in the field. They're a good fielding team, they're a good bowling team, a good batting team. It's going to be a really big test for USA, and I think that they're going to have to go into this without thinking about what they're lacking and instead thinking about what they can do themselves.